450.
450.
Wait, how did we get here? This is later on in the video. Let's go back a bit. Hey guys, welcome back to the poker channel, and in this episode I'm going to be playing the 2-5 at the Hollywood Hard Rock. Since the last episode, I've gone down a little bit on the bankroll out here. I think I've been down around 2,500 since the last video. It's been a pretty up and down trip. I started off down 10K, went on a 13K upswing, and then kind of just been hovering around that same mark of being up 1 to 3K for the last couple weeks. For some reason, every time I pull out the camera, which has just been once or twice a week, I've had a good session. So it's starting to feel like the camera's good luck. Hopefully we can run it up. I still have the same goal to make 10 to 20K on this trip, and hopefully by the end of the trip to play a 5, 10, 25 session and showcase it on my channel. One thing I'd like to ask you guys though is, what other sort of content that do you guys watch on YouTube? I ask because I'm interested in a whole lot of other things, and I would like to add some of those things into my videos, whether it's sports, music stuff, nature stuff, anything. You can literally name anything. Any sort of hobby that you have, put it in the comment section and I'll take a look. Hopefully some of our hobbies align and I can start showcasing some other stuff in these videos as well. If you guys enjoy the content and have enjoyed the journey so far, hit that subscribe button because I'm gonna keep documenting the rest of my trip. I have another month and a half out here. Let's run it up. Let's head to the casino. All right guys, we just arrived at the casino. Whether you're new in poker, whether you're just starting out, grinding at the tables, trying to move up in stakes, whether you just show up on the weekend to try to make a profit and you love the game, there's one thing that matters more than anything, and that's bankroll management. I've seen a lot of poker players come and go, and I've only been in this industry for the last 4 years. And I'll share a little story of my own. So, going into last year, I had around 120K bankroll that I had built up on my own. So I thought, I'm gonna get my own place. Before that, I lived with my mom. I thought, I'm gonna get my own place, start paying rent, I can afford it, and I'm just gonna grind at my local casino, Woodbine, in Toronto. It has a $20 rake structure, and my hourly rate dropped significantly because of that. And I started to realize that as time went on. I did some trips throughout the year as well, so overall I ended up making a total of like 60K last year, but I only played 800 hours. Why? Because I was almost never playing when I was home in the city for the second half of the year, realizing that I'm not making nearly as much as I should be at that casino. So with all my expenses, I was definitely in the hole, and it dropped my bankroll pretty significantly to the point where it was at around 75K by the end of the year. So anyways, now that's why I'm trying to grind my way back playing 2-5, and all the profits that I make, I mostly just put into stocks. So I don't keep a lot of cash on hand. And I think that's a smart way to do it. You can either keep all of your cash with you and treat that as your life/bankroll. I like to keep my life roll and my bankroll separate. How much money should you have to play the game that you're playing? Well, you should have at least, at a minimum, 20 buy-ins. 30 buy-ins is the comfortable amount. And it really depends on your play style as well. If you're a very aggressive player, you're gonna wanna obviously have a bigger bankroll. If you play a more tight strategy and rely on making hero calls, you don't need to have as many buy-ins to the game. So there's a lot of factors to consider, but overall, you should have around 20 to 30 buy-ins at the game that you're playing. And a lot of people, they let ego get in the way of this. I was a factor of that. When my bankroll started to drop, I didn't want to drop back down in stakes because I thought, in my head, I'll be quite honest with you guys, in my head I thought people would start to think I'm not as good of a player, my image would go down the hole, I wouldn't be as respectable, this and that. People will start playing back at me. I was really in my head about this kind of stuff. It took me a couple months to realize that none of that stuff matters, and the only thing that matters is staying consistent and making sure that your bankroll doesn't go broke, because that is your baby and that is what you need to take care of. Let's go play some poker. We made it. All right, this might be the craziest thing ever, but again, I think this might be the third time in a row I looked down at 9-10 suited. Well, suited this time. I remember last video was offsuit, but for the first hand of the day, I think this is the third time we've looked down at 9-10. I opened $20 from cutoff, button calls, and small blind comes along as well. So we're headed 3 ways to a flop, and it comes out queen 7 deuce rainbow. This board favors my range. Small blind checks. I bet $20 here, as I'm gonna be doing with my basically entire range. Button folds, and it's back on the small blind player, and he ends up making the call. So we're headed off to a turn. It comes out the king of diamonds. Pretty perfect card for us to keep bluffing here. We pick up some equity with the small straight draw, 4 outs. He checks it over to us, and this is where I think I can get him to fold all of his under pairs and maybe some ace highs that he floated with. So I bet $80. It's back on him. He tanks for a while. So let's just talk about some flop theory. On that sort of flop, when it's high card, low card, low card, it's gonna favor the pre-flop raiser pretty heavily, and you're gonna get a lot of folds from opponents just by betting small. But back to the action, he folds his cards, so we're gonna take this one down and head off to the next hand. They allow you to straddle from any position at the Hard Rock. We got a straddle on the button this hand. I look down at jack 8 of clubs. Small blind limps, hijack limps, and it's on me. I've noticed when there's a button straddle, the blinds limp somewhat wide because they're already priced in a little bit. And that brings in other limpers to limp even wider. So when it's on me here, I'm gonna be doing a lot of ISOing. So I make it $55, expecting to get folds pretty often pre-flop and take it down. And if not, I have a post-flop edge, so it's all good. Button ends up making the call, which isn't great because he's probably one of the better players in this hand, and that brings in the other players as well. So now we're in a position where it's not the best, but we have an okay hand. So headed off to a flop, it comes out jack, deuce, 5 with 2 hearts. This is where things get a little bit interesting and gray. Small blind leads out for $175 here. Hijack folds. He's got 800 total in his stack. This is a very strange spot as he's let out for basically like 75% pot. All I can think though is that I've got top pair and there are combo draws available on the board. So I don't see how I can let go of my cards just yet. Maybe I could, but I'm not folding yet. Especially when I don't really have too much reads on this guy. I'm just gonna call with my top pair. Button folds. So we're headed off to a turn. And bink, jack of spades. Maybe not a bink though, because he could still have a jack too, I guess. But we hit trips, and he decides to snap jam for $600. Okay, well, who would ever snap jam a full house here? I don't think ever. And now we have trips, so our hand just feels way too strong. I mean, I can tank for a while, but I don't see how I convince myself to ever fold here when I have trips. So I actually don't think about it for long at all, and I just stick in the money. I don't know if I'm ahead, I don't know if I'm behind, but let's go to a run out. The river comes out pretty clean. It's a queen of clubs, but our opponent flips over king jack offsuit. So we get absolutely punished here by ISOing a little bit too wide and calling maybe a little bit too wide to the size he chose on the flop. Unfortunate one. Man, I don't know what it is. I just feel like I'm playing my old strategy a lot of the time. Having to move down in stakes is tough after playing about 2 years straight of 5-10 mostly. Probably around like 75% 5-10 and 25% 2-5. And obviously there's a lot more pros and regs on that table, on the 5-10 tables. and adjusting back to the 2-5 strategy games where it's just a lot of ABC poker and people just play their hand face up. Like, everyone plays so different from each other at the 2-5. It's not like everyone plays the same. So when I get into a spot like that Jack-8 hand, all I'm thinking about is I have top pair. I'm gonna have a bunch of other stuff here like ace-queen, ace-king, ace-10, king-queen, king-10, king-9. You can think of all these hands that I just can't call the flop with. So when I have top pair, I'm thinking I can't fold. Even for a size that big, maybe I should just be snap folding. Obviously it's easier to say after the hand is over, but I was thinking call flop, evaluate the turn. If he still goes big, then I'm probably just gonna let it go. Well, after I hit that jack, I don't know. I feel like I just couldn't fold. So it's frustrating. But I'm just gonna keep playing the strategy and hopefully things will align. That walk and vent was much needed. I walked around for around 10 to 15 minutes. I do that around 2 to 3 times per session. But in this next hand, I'm in the hijack, look down at ace-jack offsuit. I make it $15. There's a player on the button who's got a short stack. He calls the $15 and big blind calls as well. He's got a full stack. Headed off to a flop and it comes out ace-jack-deuce with 2 spades. Pretty perfect flop for us. We also have the jack of spades in our hand. Checks to me and I go for a bet of $15 here. It's on the button player. He makes the call and the big blind gets out of the way. Headed off to a turn, it comes out the 7 of spades. So it brings in the front door flush draw. This is a spot where I'm gonna be doing a lot of checking. I thought about betting though, just because I think he might still call with some ace-x, some random spade in his hand that he thinks he has outs to the river with. But I think checking is a bit better. So I check it over to him and he goes for a bet of $100 with not much left in his stack behind. So when it's on me, I think about letting go of my cards, but since I got the jack of spades, we're just way too strong here. I'm not gonna be folding. And I think he could bet certain 2 pairs that he could be value owning himself on the turn with. Who knows? So I just close my eyes and stick it in. And he ends up calling. So we're headed off to the river and it comes out the queen of clubs. I flip over my cards and he mucks, saying that I wasn't good until the river. I asked why. He said because I hit 2 pair. He didn't know I already had it. So I guess he had some sort of 2 pair himself. Behold the almighty aces, the most beautiful hand to look down at a 2-5 no limit game. It would be even better if we were playing 1 million, 2 million. We look down at aces, raise 15 from UTG. UTG plus 1, older gentleman, goes to $50. But he's not the typical older gentleman. This guy gets pretty aggressive. Low jack makes the call, short stack, has 170 total. Cutoff makes the call as well. So it's back on me. And since there's a short stack in the action and UTG is only playing around 800 in his stack as well, I don't think going a size above 250 makes any sense here. So I just go 250. Under the gun plus 1 makes the fold, as this guy's pretty aware. He's old, but he's aware. Low jack, the short stack, decides he's priced in. He's just gonna go all in for 170 total. And cutoff ends up making the fold. Fun fact, did you know when you open UTG and get 3-bet from the middle position areas like UTG plus 1, low jack, or hijack, it is the most under bluff 3-bet spot at the table. All right, we picked up a little bit of momentum with that ace-jack hand, but let's hope to pick up some more momentum here and cut our losses from that jack-8 hand from earlier. Let's head to a flop. 7-3, jack, 2 clubs. The turn comes out, the 8 of clubs. We do not have a club, so hope to fade a club on the river. but it's the 5 of clubs, so how bad could we run? I guess now we're just hoping that this guy has some sort of random holding without a club in it, because I feel like if he has some sort of low pair, he's going to hit this board. Clubs are hitting this board. I don't know. Anyways, I flip over my aces, and surprisingly, he looks at his cards, he's staring at the board, he can't figure it out, and then realizes he has no club, no straight, no set. Lets go of his cards and says, I had a small pocket pair. So I guess we got pretty lucky here. I did not think we were going to win that hand after seeing the board. There's another button straddle in this hand. Big blind limps, and we already have a read on this guy that he likes to limp offsuited broadways like king jack off. It's the same guy from earlier with the jack 8 hand. It's on us. We're in the cutoff, so I decide to limp as well, thinking this is a little bit too wide to ISO that range. And button ends up checking back. So we're headed off to a flop, and it comes out ace, ace, jack, rainbow. Big blind checks, I check, and it's on the button. He bets $15. Big blind folds, so the action's back on me. These button straddle ranges are a little bit foggy to me. I've never studied them, I don't know how to. So I just play off of intuition and player reads. My read on this guy specifically is that he likes to bet a lot in position when he thinks others are weak. So I think he's got an extremely wide range here. I make the call. Headed off to a turn, and it comes out the 5 of spades, bringing in a backdoor flush draw, and we have it. I check it over to him, and he continues betting for $50. Now he's saying he has some sort of ace. Why wouldn't he ISO us preflop? He's that kind of player. I don't think he's got an ace. I decide to raise here to $150, basically saying, fold your entire range. It's back on him. He thinks about it for a bit, and then ends up folding his hand, showing us 10-9 offsuit. Maybe we should have just called the turn and had him blast off against us on some spade rivers. He probably would have just given up though, as he's done that in the past.
3 weeks ago, I got 8-4 offsuit. I hit two 8s on a flop, 8 on a river, and I got $500 bonus.
I can have that.
Yeah, so why are you gonna chop?
He's got a point. Why would you ever chop the blinds when you can hit quads with 8-4 offsuit? Well, the math is actually pretty close, and a lot of players just like to chop. It keeps the game friendly, keeps the recreationals happy, so I chop it up. In this hand, we've got a hijack player who limps for $10. There's another button straddle on. I go to $50 from the cutoff. Button straddle, he calls, and the limper gets out of the way. So we're heads up, out of position here. We head to a flop. Queen 6-4 with 1 diamond. I c-bet for $40, which is around 33% pot. Again, high card, low card, low card. Gonna be c-betting a lot. I expect this guy to also call a lot. Not because of this specific board, but because of the player type he is. He makes the call. So we're headed off to a turn, and it comes out the queen of diamonds. So we hit a backdoor flush draw, and the top card pairs. I think about betting for a while, because if we bet and get raised, we can still comfortably call. But I think it's better if we just check call instead. Keep the pot smaller. The skies are flush if we do hit it on the river. And I think he'll still go for value with his queen X if we do hit it. So I check, but he checks it back. So he must have some sort of showdown value. River comes out, the 5 of hearts. I check it once more because I don't see too much merit in betting. Sure, we can maybe get value from 4x, 3s, and deuces, but he could still have pocket 7s, pocket 8s, ace 6, king 6. So I check it over, he checks it back, and we win.
Got the nuts.
I'm on the button. We got some more chips to play with now. I look down at queen 10 of clubs. I open at $30 because it's under the gun straddle this hand. Small blind calls, big blind calls, and it's on the straddle player. This guy gets pretty aggressive. He makes it $180 with a $2,000 stack. This is the sort of player to squeeze here with hands like ace 10 offsuit, ace jack off, king queen off, king jack off, ace-7 suited. So you get the idea, he's just way too wide here. He probably sees it as a perfect spot. A couple of recreational players call my raise. I'm raising wide from the button. He's gonna get extra aggro here to take it down. So I actually love calling here in position, and it's also pretty fine in the GTO world. What I like even more about it though is that I don't think this guy's aware that I know how aggressive he's getting, which gives us a huge post-flop edge. I call and the other players get out of the way, so we're heads up. The flop comes out and it's really dry. 8, deuce, 3, rainbow. But there's one club, so we have some hope. He thinks it over for a bit and then decides to check on this board. Pretty interesting. When players check, especially players who are squeezing too wide here, I'm gonna be doing a lot of betting, and it's never gonna be for a big size. I bet $90 here, basically putting pressure on all of his air and forcing him to have to raise quite often. And raise he does. He makes it $300. So the old check raise here. We gotta look at a few factors. One is that, again, this player is going to be squeezing super wide here from the straddle, and I know this, which gives me a huge advantage here. And when he checks this board, I actually don't think he's got a lot of overpairs, given that I would have to bet this board quite often, and he knows I'm capable of checking back with some of my pairs myself. When I bet, and for a small size, it gives him so much rope to raise here with basically his entire range. So given these reads, I know this might sound crazy, and it is crazy. This could be results oriented a bit if you look at it that way, but I'm gonna float here with basically my entire range because I think I'm gonna be able to take it down on future streets. This player, I think, is making a one and done move here as well, given that I only have like $800 behind in my stack after I make this call. So I make the call and we're headed off to a turn. It comes out the 5 of clubs. This card is actually pretty interesting in my brain. A couple things could happen here. He could for sure have a hand like ace-5 suited and take this line. He could for sure have a hand like ace-4 suited and take this line. So I actually think this is a great card for him. But in reality, if he has a hand like ace-7 suited, he's not gonna look at this like it's a great card for him. And I'm expecting him to actually check this a lot here, and check he does. So he checks it over to me, and now I have a decision. Do I want to bluff here? And if I do, how big do I want to go? Especially since I turned the backdoor flush draw. It gives me some equity. But another question is, what would I do here with a hand like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, 7, 8? You get the idea. All of my pairs, basically. Would I ever bet them after getting check raised on the flop? I think the answer is no. I'm not going to be betting those very often at all. I might bet jacks here sometimes, or queens if I have them on the rare occasion. But a bluff, I'm not going to be betting. I think checking back the turn is going to make him even more afraid to bluff the river. I could easily see him going for a double check raise jam here, which then puts us in a pretty bad spot. And if I check back, I think my hand looks face up to him. I think he's going to put me on, again, some sort of pocket pair every single day of the week. And we can always bluff him off on the river if he decides to give up, which I think he will. So I check it back. And we're headed off to a river. And it comes out the 5 of diamonds. And again, I don't think this is a great card because he can still have ace-5 suited. But I think we'll hear from him if he does. He now thinks that we have some sort of overpair to the board. And if he has some sort of overpair himself, or if he hit trips on this river, I think risking checking is just way too big of a risk for him, knowing that I will check back a lot of my pairs. So I'm expecting him to jam if he does have something, and if he doesn't have anything, I'm expecting a check and us to win all the time by putting out some sort of bet. He thinks it over for a bit and does decide to check it over to us. So green flag, he waves the white flag, and I'm now gonna put out a bet myself just to take down this pot. I think it over for a while, and I don't think jamming makes too much sense. He could maybe even start hero calling me with like ace king if I jam, because what am I really trying to get value from with like my pocket 9s or 10s or jacks? Again, I have 800 in my stack total, and I decided to go for a bet of 450. This is a size that I think he'll never jam over the top as a bluff with, because it's just suicidal. How could I ever have a bluff myself? I think this size says I have some sort of pocket pair that I'm looking to get value from like ace king, or some sort of weird hand that he has himself. He thinks it over for around 15 seconds and then lets go of his cards. So we're gonna take this one down, and it looks like our reads are right. This game now has a consistent under the gun straddle. I look down at king queen suited from first position and open to $30. New player on the button with a cigar in his mouth goes to $65 off of a $500 stack. Again, he just sat down, so this is an awkward spot. The action's back on me, and it's only 35 to call. Something to note is that when players 3-bet to a smaller size, you're supposed to call more often rather than raise. Who knows if this is a super aggressive random player, or if he's super tight and just has aces or something like that. I have no idea, but I know one thing, and that's that we're not folding yet. So I make the call. So we're heads up, heading to the flop. It comes out queen 10-8 with 2 hearts. I check it over to him, and he thinks it over for a second or two before betting $75 here. Pretty big now for the size of his stack. And now I know he's for sure, obviously, a recreational with this size. I make the call. The turn comes out the 6 of clubs. I check once more, and he bets $175. And I'll let you guys listen to the audio here.
175.
No, like, what do you have?
Nothing here. Like
In the hand, what do you
175.
have? The 2 cards. What do you have? What do you have under those 2 cards?
Is that the way we play here?
He just friendly asking what you got here.
That's worth a try.
I have $175 worth.
That's fair. Let me think.
What you got?
I fold.
What you got there under?
I'm going to show you because you asked.
Okay. That's really good.
Is that good enough?
That's good enough. Nice hand.
Actually, because you asked polite.
Thank you.
He showed us pocket aces, so we ended up making the right fold. And I was just trying to show this guy a good time, show him that we're all having fun here, talking in hands, it's not too serious, good vibes. In this next hand, we're in the straddle, look down at ace-deuce of diamonds. Under the gun limps, cut off limps, button limps, and the action's on me. I'm gonna squeeze here. I actually love it with this hand specifically. These guys are gonna have way too wide of a range once it gets to the cutoff player. And the only player I'm really scared about, or not even scared, but I guess his range could be beating ours, is the under the gun player. So I make it $75, and under the gun calls, which isn't great, but not terrible, and the other guys fold. So we're heads up, heading to a flop, and it comes out the 10 of diamonds, the 8 of hearts, and the 6 of diamonds. So we flop a front door flush draw. This player has been known to fold a lot of small pairs on boards where there's over pairs available and you show aggression. So that's the exploit that I'm going to go with here. I would usually check this flop, especially out of position on this specific board, but against this specific player who does not know about ranges, I'm just going to bet myself. And I bet $60. He makes the call, so now I know he has some sort of pair. He could have a pair plus straight draw. He could even have still a hand like queen jack suited or like ace-7, ace-9 suited. So heading off to a turn, hoping to hit a diamond, or maybe even an ace is probably good here. But it comes out a board pairing 6, and it's the 6 of hearts. This is a decent card because if you ever had a hand like 10-8, for example, on the flop, it gets counterfeit. So now we have a little bit more fold equity, but he could still have a hand like 6-7 here. I'm not gonna stop betting on this card though. I still expect him to have some hands, again, like ace-7, ace-9, 8-9, 7-8, that are gonna fold to a large bet on this turn. So I make it $250, and he tanks for a while, and it was probably around 30 seconds looks me up and down, and then folds his hand. So it looks like we got our bluff through. Probably got a decent hand to fold here too. All right guys, we're getting down to the last few hands of the session. There's a hijack player who limps for $10. I'm in the cutoff and make it $40 with pocket sevens. Straddle player calls and the limper comes along as well. So we're 3 ways headed to a flop. It comes out the queen of clubs, 7 of spades, 3 of spades. They check to me and I go for a c-bet of $40. The straddle player thinks it over for a while. This is the same aggressive player from that queen 10 suited hand earlier, and he makes it $150 to go. We're sitting pretty deep here. Hijack folds, so the action's back on me. I have a couple options here. We're playing around 200 big blinds deep. I believe we have over 2K each in our stack at this point. And so I'm just trying to get the money in as fast as possible. There's a lot of combo draws available. There's even queen X of spades available. He could have pocket threes that are never folding. He could be getting super aggressive pre-flop and even have a hand like queen 3 suited, calling a little bit too wide. So I decide that my hand loves to 3-bet this flop and I make it $425 to go. But he snap folds. Pretty interesting. Of course I feel silly after I re-raise and he snap folds and I have a nut hand like this. But I think we made the right play here. All right guys and girls, we made it to the last hand of the night. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button. It means a lot to me. As you know, I do edit and film all these videos myself. I've been putting in a lot of work to them, and your guys' support gives me the motivation to keep going. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's supported me so far and continues to follow along on my journey. We've got 5-6 of spades in the low jack. I raised to $30. Button, reg, same aggressive guy from earlier, makes the call. And we're gonna be heads up here. Headed to a flop, it comes out the king of diamonds, the 9 of diamonds, and the 4 of clubs. So we completely whiffed this flop, but we're still gonna range bet it for $20. As again, we're gonna do with our entire range here. Button ends up making the call. So we're headed off to a turn and it comes out the queen of clubs. Now there's 2 flush draws on the board. I have absolute air, nothing on this board whatsoever. There's gonna be so many bluffs I could choose from here, given 10x hands and jack X hands as well. And even some smaller flush draws that I could have as it's a double flush draw board. So I don't think our hand wants to do much betting on this turn. So I check and he ends up checking it back. The river comes out and it's a board pairing queen and it's an offsuit queen. It's the queen of hearts. Now is where I actually think I can for sure rep a queen. I'd play queen 10 like this. I'd play queen jack like this. I'd play ace queen like this. I just have so many queens in my range. So I decide with my absolute air, bottom of range is definitely going to want to do some bluffing here. So I go for about a pot size bet of $125. Expecting him to fold basically his under pairs, his 9x, some ace highs, and he ends up snap folding. So we're gonna win the last hand of the vlog.
Damn, Taurus.
What a game. What a game. Unfortunately, I stopped filming, but there was a lady who was absolutely blasting all of her chips. Made it 100 every hand pre-flop. Bet every time she hit a pair. It got wild. I was in the game for $1,900. It's currently 12:30 a.m. the following day. So I think I played a 10-hour session and cashed out for a total of $38.50. So just under $2,000 profit. Finally, a little bit momentum. Let's take this, let's run with it. Let's keep grinding. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Boogie on that one.
And when I say meditate, I just mean listen to music and stand around. It's really all I do.